Hi everyone, welcome back and thank you for sharing this time with me again. I really do appreciate it, so thank you. If you're new to the channel, I'm Anita. I'm busy sharing my cancer story with everyone and hopefully you'll find some value in that. So I do apologize for the dogs. I was thinking of doing this inside, but then they follow me inside anyway, and then they bark and it's even worse inside than it is outside. So I do apologize. I honestly do. I'm sitting outside while I do this and they're just making such a racket. I can hear that Richard is trying to keep them quiet, which hopefully, good luck, Richard. Now, in the last video, I ended off by telling you that I was going home to go and do my forgiveness list. And I always find that the burden of forgiveness lies heavier on the person who's carrying that bitterness than it does on the other person, the perpetrator. They seem to just walk through life and we often look at them and go, how the hell are they not affected by any of this? While we are so consumed with what they said or what they did or some action. And so sitting at the river that day with my mom, I knew I needed to release this energy that I had carried around. There was no point in continuing to carry it through my cancer journey. I needed space for other things in my life, quite frankly, and not bitter memories. So I went home, I wrote all the names on a piece of paper, I put them in one of those little plastic Ziplocs, and waiting now to go back to the river where I would burn them, and that's exactly what I did. So the following day, with all my notes in hand, and this time a towel, because the day before, when I had gone down to the river to spend time with my mom, I had stripped down and gone for a swim, and it was spontaneous, and it was extremely cold, and I had to put clothes on, and I was drenched. So I went a little bit more organized this time. So I took a flask of coffee, I took a towel, I took my notes, I took a book that I could write in, so if I thought of anything while I was sitting down there, I could make notes. I took my Ziploc bag of all the names of the people that I was going to now release and get them off my shoulders, and I went and sat down by the Thames River, and it was beautiful. So the whole idea was just to put their name on a piece of paper. Then you get down to the river, you light a candle, or the woodlands, or the sea, or wherever it is that your heart feels warm, and it gives you that feeling of just feels right. You just know that you're in the right place, and if you can find that place, that's where you do your forgiveness. And I took out the little pieces of paper, I burnt each one, so I would say the name beforehand, then I would light it, and I would release that person, release that energy that I had been carrying. And I can't tell you how much better I felt at the end of all of that. I really did feel a hell of a lot lighter. Went for my swim, and then I took a walk and made my way home again, and it was lovely. So, as I say, the whole idea is to come away from that, having been the unnecessary pain that you've been putting yourself through at the end of the day, and lifting that anger. Now, you need to understand as well that right at this time, while I've just been diagnosed, we had just put money down on our house in Portugal. This was a diagnosis that was not expected. Richard and I had already seen out the house we wanted in the north, and the money had been put down. So we were sitting in the lounge and saying to ourselves, or to each other, what do we do? Do we pull out of the house in Portugal and stay in the UK because of this new cancer thing now, or what? And both of us said, oh, bugger that. We're not doing it. We're going. We irrespective of this particular illness, we are going. And that's exactly what we did in the end. I've got some notes here, because if I don't keep some notes, then I just go all over the place. But I just wanted to bring that in, because everything was happening all at once. The cancer diagnosis, the move to Portugal, pardon me, it was just all kicking off all at once. I was waiting now for my first appointment with my oncologist. So in the interim though, I was doing all the research I possibly could on alternative therapies and cures for cancer, because like I said in the last video, in part 2, I'm not partial to the chemotherapy, and I desperately wanted another way to cure this other than putting my body through all of that. I had read, like I told you in part 2, I had read an article in 2017 about a bloke by the name of Joe Tippins, and he had cured himself from terminal cancer using a drug called Fenbendazole, along with a few other things. But he was given 3 months to live. He had gone through an enormous amount of chemo. He'd been on trials. Nothing worked. And in the end, they sent him home and said, look, just live your life, and you've got 2-3 months. And the story goes, my understanding of it goes, that a friend of his had a friend, and their friend was a veterinarian scientist. And she was busy working in her laboratory, and she was working on cancer in pets. And she had rats. And she noticed that the rats had worms. So she didn't want to, she needed to cure the worms, the worm story with these rats. So she gave these rats, she injected all her mice with fenbendazole. But not only did it get rid of the worms, it cured her rats of cancer, and that was not what she wanted. And shortly after that, I believe she was diagnosed with brain cancer. And unbeknown to anyone, she kept it all under wraps. She took the fenbendazole to see whether she could cure her brain tumor, her malignant brain tumor. Now that's the story that I know. If it is incorrect in any way, I put my hand up now and I apologize. I don't think it is, but I think that's pretty much the story. But if I do have 1 or 2 little things wrong, I ask for your forgiveness, but you've got the gist of the story. Google Joe Tippins yourself. Have a look at that story. It's a fascinating one. So at the time, it was obviously in the Daily Mail in the UK, and I asked my mom, who is fantastic at keeping documents and that sort of thing. Mine usually lie on the back shelf of my car. So I said to her, keep it. And like I said in part 2, she was looking at me like I was crazy. And I said to her, I really believe that someday, if not me, it'll be someone else that maybe I can help. So let me get to the fenbendazole. Let me tell you what I've been taking. Okay? So let me start here. Where is my little teaspoon? Right. See that? Fenbendazole. Little teaspoon that I bought. I buy the powder. This is the powder. And I just take a scoop out with this little teaspoon and I put it on my food. It's got no taste. There's no taste to it. It's a very, very easy thing to take. I prefer the powder. You can buy it in tablet form. I buy my fenbendazole. Actually, I've bought it off Amazon many times, many times, fenbendazole. Otherwise, you can buy it directly from the lab called Fenben Lab. Along with that, soursop tea. Okay, have I got that? Yeah, soursop leaves. That's a tea. Very, very important. Good tea. What else do we have? What else do we have here? Turmeric. Okay. Berberine. Blue-green algae. Turkey tail and quercetin. So those are the things that I've been taking every day. I ordered, once I had the diagnosis with the colon cancer, I was straight onto the internet. I had to find fenbendazole come level money. I found it on Amazon. I ordered it, and I began my Fenbendazole story. I had to wait to see the oncologist. In the meantime, I needed to get a whole list of questions ready. This is my list. Look how long that is. So it starts with, what exactly is my diagnosis? Is this a fast or slow growing cancer? How long has it taken to get to this point? Do you think an unhealthy diet or stress is the cause? What treatment do you recommend? What are the drugs called that you plan on treating me with? There are so many questions here. There are 28, and I'm not going to put you through all 28, but I had 28 questions for my oncologist when I finally met her. I also put together a file. In this file, I tell her all the things that I've just told you that I'm taking, along with vitamin C. I talk about fenbendazole. I talk about doxycycline. That's an interesting one. Artemisinin, soursop, it's all here. I actually walked in to see her with this file. It didn't go down that well, to be honest with you. She was a little bit scratchy with me. I think she felt like I was trying to tell her how to do her job, and I honestly wasn't. But the problem is that it's not her that's been given the diagnosis. It's me. And I needed as much information as humanly possible from her. But I'll tell you all about that in the next one. I told you one of the names on my list, I'm not sure if I did, I think I mentioned that one of the names on my forgiveness list was Colin, my ex-husband. I phoned him after I had released him. I phoned him, and because it wasn't only a case of me releasing him, I needed some forgiveness as well. And I was not going to start this cancer journey with any negativity in my life at all. No emotions, no negative or hurtful emotions. I needed, at this particular junction in my life, I needed more faith than fear. And so I phoned Colin, only to find out, he was shocked. He was absolutely shocked that I had been diagnosed with cancer. And he was telling me that he hadn't actually been feeling all that well. And he'd lost a lot of weight. And I said to him, what are your symptoms? And he gave me a whole load of symptoms. And I thought, I've heard this before. I know these symptoms. I could be wrong, of course, but I had heard this before. And it was the year before, in 2022, when my mom's sister, my Auntie Pam, passed away from esophageal cancer. So I said to Colin, who refuses to go to conventional doctors, he does everything through herbs, everything. And I said to him, Colin, please, promise me that you're going to go to a doctor. I'm all for the herbal side. Believe me, I am. But sometimes you need to cross that road and go to the conventional guys, because these health people can't give you an MRI for the most part anyway. I don't know any of them that can. An MRI or a scan or a colonoscopy or an endoscopy or, excuse me, they end up referring you to your local GP. So I said to Colin, please, you have got to go and get checked up. 2 weeks after I had spoken to Colin, and we had our long, I forgive you, you forgive me, I'm sorry to, Colin was diagnosed with esophageal cancer stage 4. It had moved to his liver and his lungs. So we became cancer buddies for the last year. And I'm very sorry to say that Colin didn't make it. He passed away days after his birthday, which was on the 30th of August. And Heartbreaking, but here's another story which I'll tell you about. Did he take Fenbendazole in the protocol? Yes. This man threw everything he had at the cancer. But there's a twist, and I will tell you that in the next video. Only because the dogs are starting to bark. I'm all over the place now because I'm thinking, what have I told you, what haven't I? So I write the notes and then I don't read them. I mean, go figure. What the hell did I sit down and write them all down for? Just to ignore them. And I've still got to upload this onto YouTube, and edit it. And we both know that I can't edit, so let's leave the rest for the next video. Thank you for getting this far. God bless you, and chat to you soon. Bye.